You'll see it's an eclectic collection of members of the United States Senate in favor of what we've just done here in the Senate, and that's to pass a bill to make daylight savings time permanent. Just this past weekend, we all went through that biannual ritual of changing the clock back and forth and the disruption that comes with it. And one has to ask themselves after a while, why do we keep doing it? Why are we doing this? This really began back in 1918 as a practice that was supposed to save energy. And since then, we've adjusted it. Today, daylight savings time, which started out as 6 months, was extended to 8 months in 2005, clearly showing you where people's preference were. So we're doing this back and forth of clock changing for about 16 weeks of standard time a year. Now, I think the majority of the American people's preference is just to stop the back and forth changing. And then, but beyond that, I think their preference is, certainly at least based on today's vote and what we've heard, is to make daylight savings time permanent. There's some strong science behind it that is now showing and making people aware of the harm that clock switching has. We see an increase in heart attacks and car accidents and pedestrian accidents in the week that follow the changes. The benefits of daylight saving times have also been accounted for in the research. For example, reduced crime as there's light later in the day. We've seen decreases in child obesity, a decrease in seasonal depression that many feel during standard time. In many parts of this country, understand we're a country, we desperately want our kids to be outside, to be playing, to be doing sports, not just to be sitting in front of a TV or a computer terminal or playing video games all day. And it gets really tough in many parts of the country to be able to do that. Because what ends up happening is, especially for these 16 weeks a year, if you don't have a park or an outdoor facility with lights, you're basically shut down around 5 p.m., in some cases as early as 4 or 4:30 p.m. And it's these lights in parks and things like that are expensive, and then a lot of communities are resistant to them, right? It makes it tough to do. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've watched sporting events be called, youth sporting events be called in the middle or near the end of the game before it's actually concluded because there's not enough lights. So I just think that's one of the practical reasons why, if you look at the way we live in this country, you want to have the ability to spend more time in the evenings outdoors, not just to enjoy the outdoors, but to make sporting and outdoor activities available for people at a time when, frankly, we're losing an hour and a half in some parts of the country because of daylight. I know this is not the most important issue confronting America, but it's one of those issues where there's a lot of agreement. And I think a lot of people wonder why it took so long to get here. So my hope is that after we're done here today, that the House will take it up, that the House will pass it, the President will sign it. I just want to lay out one caveat. This bill and the amendment does delay its implementation. And the reason why, and I asked, believe me, I asked, why are we delaying this, is and I think it's important we're delaying it until November 2023, is because airlines, the rails, all transportation methods, others have already built out schedules based on the existing schedule, on the existing timeline of this. And so they've asked for a few months here, in addition from the industry like broadcasters and airlines, to make that adjustment. But the good news is if we can get this passed, we don't have to keep doing this stupidity anymore. And why we would enshrine this in our laws and keep it for so long is beyond me. But hopefully this is the year that this gets done. And pardon the pun, but this is an idea whose time has come. I yield the floor.